This is TNC Movie Night. I'm doing that slowly, so if we get another copyright strike, we have to speed it up again. It just sounds normal. Don't think that'll happen with this one because we don't have Justice League in the corner. Thanks, DC. But this week, we're taking a little bit of a turn. We've talked enough superheroes for a while, so we're going to take things a little bit more seriously. But not too seriously, because we're still big idiots. And what better topic to talk about than people who usually play big idiots? This is a stretch. People who usually play big idiots being serious. We're talking about comedy actors in their serious roles. Try to make a thing. Seems like I'm reaching a little bit. I don't know about you, Brandon. That felt like a bit of a reach. How you been, though, before we do a deep dive?
You know, today's been a very hectic day just editing. So as some of you know, if you've watched some of our past episodes, we pre-recorded 6 episodes technically in 3 days because Alex is going to be on the move, going to Tennessee, doing some other traveling, setting things up. So he's got a lot of stuff going on for a bit. And we recorded our watchathon, then there's the watchathon review, then there's the reviews, the episodes that came out last week, then there's this episode, then we're also doing our review for tonight, Stranger Than Fiction. It comes out like in 2 weeks, but yeah. We're pre-recording a lot right now, so we're just grinding through. It's just a lot, so it's been fun though. It's been a good time. It'll be a nice 2 weeks just to kind of chill for me. That'll be kind of nice, but yeah, man. I'm doing well. I'm loving the content we're doing right now. It's been a lot of fun.
That's good. Yeah. Speaking of content, you're gonna have a lot coming up. We're talking pre-show about all them Pokemon cards that you got. He literally holds up a case and goes, "I got a case of them." So, if you're into that stuff, TNC Penguin, there's a plug for you. Wait, there's a plug for you, bud.
Hell yeah.
But let's get cracking on this list. You mentioned that we are going to do our review on Stranger Than Fiction. So what better place to start than talking about Will Ferrell in Stranger Than Fiction? He's a guy that we all know that you love more than anyone in the world. And we haven't talked about this yet, so I'm very curious to see what you have to say. So probably keep this part of it short so we can find out later. But I mean, he's known for being the big dumb goofball who is either crazy sarcastic or he acts like a child, and it's interesting to see him not do those things. And there are some funny parts, and that's kind of a thing we're going to see with a lot of these people, is that it is a very serious role, but you know, there's a couple of quips and a one-liner or two thrown in there, but that doesn't make it a comedy, you know. So is there anything you want to say without spoiling our review for Will Ferrell / Stranger Than Fiction?
Yeah, I watched Stranger Than Fiction with Will Ferrell.
It's not looking good for the review. Okay.
We'll see.
Okay, well then... then let's pivot to someone you do like. Let's talk some Adam Sandler, because we know you actually do like him. And he's done a couple of things here. He has done Uncut Gems, which was a movie that we were almost going to review, which I still haven't seen. Sorry about that. So why don't you talk about Uncut Gems for a little bit, and then we'll do a little bit of a dive into Click.
Yeah, sounds good. It'll be good because this is a little bit more of a you-heavy kind of show. And start off with, something I know a lot of, Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler is one of the actors that growing up I loved. I loved him and another actor we'll talk about very soon, Jim Carrey. I loved the goofy Adam Sandler movies. They were very over the top, and it was kind of that man-child role, which again, it's funny because that's why I don't really care for Will Ferrell that much. It's just weird, for whatever reason, the way Adam Sandler does it, it just works for me. It clicks. But I hate everything about that one. But Uncut Gems might be one of my favorite movies I saw of 2020. Not a whole lot of movies I could see in 2020. Actually, did it come out in 2019?
It might have been. I don't really know. That's a good question.
I'm going to check for us real quick. It was 2019. Came out December 25th, 2019. So Christmas in 2019.
So basically 2020.
Yeah, it was definitely the best movie I watched in 2020. And it was arguably probably one of the better movies I saw in 2019 as well. It is a phenomenal movie. It doesn't even feel like Adam Sandler. It doesn't. You get lost in that role so much that you kind of forget it's Adam Sandler because he is playing the main character of Uncut Gems. I can't think of the name right now, but he is that person. He's not Adam Sandler, and that's what I love that he does in that movie so well. And just it's a dark movie. It really is. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. I know Alex hasn't himself. It's worth a watch. If you hate Adam Sandler to his core because he's stupid movies, just give it a watch. This might just be like, you know what? I still hate Adam Sandler, but this movie is pretty good. I won't lie. So, I mean, give it a shot. It's a good time. But let's go ahead and talk about Click, a movie that Alex and I have both seen probably a handful of times, maybe a dozen times or more. One of the first times we ever saw Adam Sandler take on a more serious role.
Yeah, and it was interesting because it starts out as like kind of not to the normal obscurity of, or the absurdity of Adam Sandler, but it starts out kind of like goofy and fun, and then even after he gets the remote, he's doing fun and goofy things. But then it just kind of turns and it really hits you. And I really love when movies do that, because it's one thing to just like be funny and serious, but it's when it's a little bit surprising and it catches you off guard a little bit, it hits a little harder, as it's meant to do. And it's the same thing, when there's a funny quip in a serious movie. You're not expecting it, so your brain registers it more. And I think that was definitely the case with the first watch through of Click.
Yeah.
Because it was like, everything was funny, everything was goofy, and then things started to go wrong, and then you were just like, oh, everything's getting exponentially worse very quickly.
Yeah.
And so and then all the funny goes. It stops being funny. It's not like it gets a little less funny. It just stops. Once he like wakes up, sorry, after he does the belly flap thing, that's just like, yikes. And even before then, it starts to get a little serious. So I definitely want to give him props for that, because he never really lost like the charm of Adam Sandler, if that's even a word you could use to describe Adam Sandler. But if you're a fan, some of his characters come off as like charming and endearing. But man, that crying in the rain thing, damn, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in theaters, and I was probably like, I don't know, 13, 14. I gotta see when this movie came out too now.
This one, it's been a while. It's been like
2006. So I was 10 actually. I think this was actually my 10th birthday party. It was 5 days before my birthday, and I remember going to see this at the theaters. I'm pretty sure it was a great. No, it was PG-13. But yeah, I remember seeing the theaters and being like, I don't know if I like that movie. Of course, being 10 years old, seeing Adam Sandler movies, you're like, why is he not funny the whole movie? Why is he not loud and obnoxious? And the movie does do a really good job of kind of turning it, because I didn't expect that, again, being 10, 11 years old, of a movie that was, I thought, going to be super funny, which it started off hilarious, honestly. And then, it just takes a quick, dark turn. And to me, it's just really impressive to be able to have a comedy actor take a role like that, because to me, it shows the actor is not just a good actor or pigeonholed in the one thing. They can be a great actor as long as they're given the opportunity. Sadly, all these people are typecasted. Practically all these actors we're going to talk about today were super typecasted in their time. They got maybe 1-2 lucky roles that kind of broke out of that shell. And I'm sure there'll be kind of just a common theme we'll talk about today.
Yeah, honestly. And I think there are very few exceptions to that, other than, the guy you already mentioned, in Jim Carrey. He has had, I have 3 movies that he has done very serious roles for.
Yeah.
And those are The Number 23, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and The Truman Show. And again, I do want to start by saying I haven't seen The Number 23 or Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, but even The Truman Show, it sort of did that same thing, where it started as like a goofy, funny. He wasn't absurdist humor again, and it wasn't that physical comedy that Jim Carrey is so famous for. He had the big goofy smile, and he was kind of a dorky, gangly guy, but he wasn't throwing himself around like an episode of The Three Stooges, which you watch like The Mask or Liar Liar, which are both really funny, and I like both those movies a lot. But that's more the Jim Carrey type of humor where he's using his body and his physical, his physical comedy. It's really funny. But here it's just kind of like, check out this normal goofy dude, and then starts to kind of lose his mind a little bit, and then we start to see like all of these things progress, and it just takes serious tones. And I remember even the scene where they're hitting golf balls off of the overpass right before he sees his dad, and he's like really, really emotional. He's got tears in his eyes, and he's talking to who he thinks is his best friend, and it's like a deep conversation, and you get kind of lost in it, kind of like we were talking about with Uncut Gems. And I think that's the best compliment you can give, especially to a comedy actor who is in a serious movie, is you sort of forget who they are for a second. He stops being Jim Carrey and he starts being Truman, and I think that's a huge thing that a lot of these people share too. And that's the highest compliment I can give him, is I forgot you were funny.
Yeah, it sounds like it's such a backhanded compliment, but I do think that is a very true compliment of, you took me completely away of what I'm used to seeing you, and you were just, you were your character. You weren't Jim Carrey being serious. You were Truman and stuff like that. It's just, it's absurd to see how some of these characters just blow it out of the water. Now, Alex, I do know you have somewhat of a list of characters that are, those comedy actors in serious roles. Are any of them a little maybe disappointing to you, or do you think all of them kind of hit that, like, wow, you're just a great actor, but you're just typecasted?
I have one that's not necessarily disappointing, but it's definitely not to the same level as some of these other guys. And I really don't want to sound like I'm bad-mouthing him, because I do think he did a good job. But Jack Black in King Kong, to me, it's not like I forgot he was Jack Black and oh my god, he deserves an Oscar for it. But I do want to give him props, because he did a pretty good job in a pretty good movie, and he got to be a little fun sometimes. I'm going to stop saying that because it's just true for everybody. But he did a good job. But again, I wouldn't give him an Oscar, and I don't want to say like that was the greatest serious performance by a comedy actor. What about you?
Yeah, no, I can understand that. As much as I do like King Kong Skull Island, I think that's what that one is, right? I'm just completely lost.
No, that was the one before Skull Island.
Thank you. It's good, but yeah, he doesn't kind of blow me away in that movie at all. Again, he doesn't do a bad job by any means, but if we had to like rank them in order, he would definitely be at the bottom of the list. But not to take anything away from him, because it was a great performance. It's just some of these other ones are just absurd. It still feels a little bit like Jack Black just playing a what's the proper term for like his job he had? Photographer? Like
he was just like a cameraman or a director.
Director. Thank you. So again, good film though. But definitely has to be a little bit lower and kind of a tier ranking if you're gonna do that.
Yeah, but like you said, that's not a vote against him. That's just everyone else was so great and so unforgettable. And then there are also some that I have on the list that I felt deserved a nod. But it's not like they came in and were the star of the show and they, stole the show away from the main characters, or they were the main character. I mean, I love The Martian, and seeing Donald Glover and Kristen Wiig and Jeff Daniels in that. I think, God, now I'm going to lose my mind if. Yes. Oh God. Thank God. And Jeff Daniels in that. Three people who literally either were stand-up comics or solely did comedy. I think Kristen Wiig did something else, so I don't want to say only comedy. But you see Kristen Wiig and you're like, oh, she's hilarious. Donald Glover, he does everything. But in terms of acting, that was... I don't know if that was before Atlanta or right at its peak. So that was when he was transitioning away from like the Community version of Donald Glover as an actor and more in the I'm a grown-up and I do like these types of movies thing. He did a good job. Jeff Daniels was great. I don't even think he smiled once during the whole movie, and it was a great movie. So there are guys like that, and Jamie Foxx and Jarhead. I actually just saw a clip recently, and it reminded me of that. Same with Chris Tucker, Silver Linings Playbook. Another one. I want to give them credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
But just like Jack Black, it's everyone else is just on such a god tier level almost that I can't quite put them up with there. But that's not saying anything against their performances because they did do a good job. Is there any more that you had on your list before we blow through the rest of mine that you wanted to talk about?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, because we already.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about Will Ferrell right now. I'm going to save that for the review to really kind of get into it.
For sure. Then
Jim Carrey, Adam Sandler. Yeah, I mean that gets all mine. As we've talked about, I'm not as well versed in different movies, so especially in a serious movie list, it's definitely a little bit more of your type of show. So.
Good, man. All good. Another one, I wish I could speak more about this, but Bill Murray in Lost in Translation, Sofia Coppola and Scarlett Johansson and Bill Murray all won so many awards for this movie. And from what I've seen, it is deservedly so, but I have not done the real, sit down beginning to end of that movie. And so I can't speak on that as much as I would like to, but I did want to give Bill Murray a shout out for that because he did a great job in there. My personal favorite, I think we'll save my personal favorite for last, but I do want to talk about someone who is definitely known as a comedy actor who was in just a serious role. He wasn't in that type where he, still got to make a couple jokes, and that's Steve Carell in Foxcatcher. Have you seen that movie?
And that's Steve Carell, so I would not have tortured myself with that, so no.
Dude, maybe we should have done this one for the review, because I'm getting some vibes that you weren't a big Stranger Than Fiction fan, but Foxcatcher is so good, and it's based on a true story, and his character is a real guy, and you got Channing Tatum and Mark Ruffalo in it who absolutely kill it, and Steve Carell absolutely killed it. Not once did he get to be his goofy, funny self, and not once was it necessary. He was fantastic in that movie. I actually have it on my Vudu list because now it's like 150 movies strong, and I definitely think that you should watch that, and I encourage you, whoever's watching this, to watch that movie if you haven't either. Whether you're a sports fan or not, whether you're a wrestling fan or not, I am not, and I just loved that movie. It actually made me do more research on the real story to learn more because I couldn't believe it, and I was blown away by the performance. So definitely see Foxcatcher. But my personal favorite, because it was one of my top 5 favorite movies, and it's a little cliche because it's the one everyone goes to, but that's Robin Williams in Goodwill Hunting. Oh my God. That performance might be honestly like one of the best I've ever seen. And this is something that we've talked about for future episodes, where we might do one where we talk about the greatest scenes in movie history, whether it's from a good or a bad movie, or the greatest castings in movies. When we were talking about that during Justice League and all that. I think that he hits all of those. Robin Williams was the perfect casting choice for this role. Multiple scenes in this can go down as perfectly written, perfectly directed, perfectly acted scenes. When he is sitting on the bench with Matt Damon outside, and it's that chief speech, and then you go from that to joking about his wife farting in her sleep, and then quickly turning that into one of the most heartfelt moments in the entire movie. The "it's not your fault" speech. He just, every single time he's on the screen, he completely steals the show in a movie that is fantastic, and Matt Damon is fantastic in it. I really cannot speak highly enough about that movie. It genuinely is a masterpiece in my mind. And Matt Damon specifically and Robin Williams specifically just knock it out of the freaking park. And that's another one that I think you absolutely should see. And that is, of course, another one that I have on my Vudu list.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that one, honestly. I feel like I have, but I don't know. I definitely need to give that one a shot. I do like Robin Williams a lot. I really do love him.
Oh, good. And a lot of it, want to talk about one of the scenes, and then that's when he talks about his wife farting. And that is like the perfect scene for so many of the things that we talk about. It's not even my favorite in the movie, but it just covers so many topics that we've talked about. It was mostly improv. It was something that is so perfect that even if you tried, I don't think you could write a better scene, because he so quickly flips it. You know, they're crying, laughing, genuinely crying, laughing, because it wasn't in the script. And they go from that, and then he quickly spins it, and he's just like, she's been dead 2 years, and that's the stuff I remember, and that's the stuff I miss. And it's just like, oh my God, I forgot. This comes from such a serious place, and it feels so real. Because so many movies, whether they're funny or whether they're serious, they focus too much on being one thing. And that's fine if that's what you're going for, but in a movie like this that's trying to exist in the real world with real people, and, you know, people are complex and flawed and multifaceted and all of that, you have someone who in one moment is laughing, and then in the next moment they're remembering, you know, something that's so sorrowful that that's part of his main arc in the whole movie. And seeing stuff like that just happen over and over and over. He is such a real person in such a real people movie that I just can't compliment it enough. And I think that you should absolutely watch that. But also, we've been talking about that movie for like 11 minutes. So I think we're good with that.
Hey, no worries. When you go on a roll, you just got to keep going with it. So I do understand. Do you have any other movies or actors, or is that going to do it for us?
I think that's it. I mean, there are so many more, and we could have made this a 4-hour episode, because it's happening a lot, and not just recently, but especially recently. You know, you see these comedy actors getting to stretch their dramatic chops a little bit, and it's really great to see that, because you were talking about it before. When people get typecast, it's just kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because you feel like they didn't get a fair shot at it. Maybe for a reason, maybe not, who knows. But I do really, really love when you see someone, and it's kind of a head-scratcher thing, when you see it on the casting list. Like,
yeah,
I thought this was a drama. What is this stand-up comic doing in it? But then they just knock it out of the park. And it almost makes it better than if it wasn't them, because you're like, oh my God, I was not expecting that. And it's just great. It's just great. And we'll talk more about it when we talk about perfect scenes and perfect castings and stuff like that. But in terms of comedy actors and serious roles, I think I've ranted enough about that. But hey, for once it was a rant about something positive. It's not just me bitching about some stuff that I hate. I told you, I like liking movies. It's so nice.
No, that's totally fair. I'm gonna have to give some of these a shot. Either it's been too long that I don't remember them, or I need to finally go watch them. So I appreciate the recommendations, though. Oh,
so good, man. I cannot speak highly enough of, especially Goodwill Hunting. Such a good movie. But while I sit here and just gawk at Robin Williams more, why don't you tell the people where they can find us, Brandon?
Yes, so the people, all of you wonderful movie fans, you can find us at thenerdchambers.com. That's just our central hub for all things nerdy. You can find our podcast, our show, the YouTube, all that kind of stuff there. You can also find the Nerd Chambers, our just main show content from our just video game news. We have Commander and You, a couple of things on there like our Pokemon streams, just kind of those random gaming streams we do as well. And if you just want to message us on any of the socials, you can go and do that at TNC Movie Nights. Just hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any of those. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions to a show, anything like that, just go ahead and let us know. And also just, down in the comments on the YouTube, let us know what your favorite comedy actor in a serious role is. We'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much. Alex, if you want to go ahead and say bye to the people.
Yeah, this will be the last full episode before my new setup in Tennessee. So this will be, other than the review, this will be the last time you see just a blank white wall behind me, and I'm looking forward to it. But until then, I'm Alex. He's Brandon. See you guys.